New map, new movement toy. Ziprails are here and they have some very interesting interactions that you should be aware of to get the maximum potential out of them. To use Ziprails, first you have to of course get onto them. There are 5 ways to do this. Number 1. Getting on where they start. Little tip for that, on these buildings you can super jump off the zipline directly onto the ziprail. Remember to look up for the most distance, and that super jumps only work with ground contact. So your turn into the correct direction has to be fairly quick, else you're out of coyote time and will only get a normal zipline jump. The second way are these boosters. The third way is that there are spots where the ziprail just dips low enough to get on them from normal terrain. The fourth way is to use abilities like a grapple, horizon lift or Valkyrie passive, which have some nice additions I will get to later. And the fifth way is to wall bounce or super glide onto them. There are multiple spots in the map where you cannot reach the zipline from the ground, but with a wall bounce or super glide you can. I might make a separate video on all the spots the community finds over the next weeks, either on this channel or my clip channel, so better subscribe to both of them. Once you are on the ziprail, they function very similar to normal ziplines, but do have some neat differences. First, they are momentum based. So you can grapple into a ziprail and it will keep that grapple speed into it. The same goes for other methods to gain speed. Normal ziplines don't do that. Ziprails also accelerate when you go down and slow down when you go up, again being momentum based. They do have an upper speed limit though, which is 1260. This also goes for keeping previous momentum into them. The sad thing is that jumping off them will always reset your speed to 550, so you don't get to keep all that beautiful ziprail speed, and we haven't found a way to circumvent that yet. You are very welcome to join the movement community of the Apex Rollout subreddit or Discord channel to help with the discovery, or just keep up to date with movement in general. Ziplines will reset your speed to 350 when jumping off. So not only do you get to keep more speed when jumping off a zip rail, but they also accelerate faster to that speed, about 25% faster than zip lines. So in close range fights, it can be a good idea to quickly grab a nearby zip rail to confuse or push an enemy, or combine its speed with other movement tech, like a wall bounce or super jumps. Which leads us to similarities they share with normal ziplines. Because yes, you can super jump off them. Probably the most important super jump to learn on ziprails is this one, to get from ground level to the first floor. While sprinting, super jump as soon as you go down the ramp and then simply air strafe to the ledge. A tap strafe is not necessary. Get used to what your view does when you walk down this ramp a couple of times, cause you can jump as soon as you dip. The biggest mistake here is to jump too late rather than too early, because your forward momentum from the sprint will still carry you forward. That's why this jump also doesn't work while standing still. Either you won't clear the overhang, or are already too far down the ramp where you can't reach the zip anymore. Not quite. Some zip rates are low enough to the ground, so you can super jump up to the overhang even after having walked off the ramp. But that is the exception, not the rule. So it's better to get precise with the ramp timing, so you can do it on all these buildings. I also wasn't quite sure if this works on controller, since super jumps with manual inputs are lower than with mouse wheel jumps. I cannot reach the ceiling with a spacebar super jump, but will bonk my head with a mouse wheel super jump. But after challenging people to do it on controller with manual inputs on Twitter, WlnterSkys came through and did it on PlayStation. And later Hoodie confirmed that they can do it on manual inputs as well. Something that I myself could confirm working on controller is this. A way to get onto the overhang while arriving from the zip rail. It technically only needs 2 jump inputs timed correctly. So hold interact, jump off and jump again at the correct moment. Please also remember to hold forward, else you won't climb if you're a bit too low. And just to prove it, here's me doing it on controller. It is of course way easier to hit the correct timing with a scroll wheel jump, but with enough practice should be very consistent with manual inputs. I struggled a lot to get the correct timing down in the beginning. What helped me in the end was to jump off the zip rail earlier so I don't bonk my head, and so importantly to look up a bit and not down at the zip rail. Big thanks to War666, JD and the WlnterSkys for nudging me in the correct direction here. This whole jump is based on a concept called ghost interactions, which is a whole different zipline topic I have been meaning to make a video about, but I haven't so far. Add it to the pile. Another spot where you can use this ghost interact is when the zipline arrives at the top on these buildings to instantly get to the roof. You can also do this with a superjump, but as I said, a superjump needs ground contact. So I think it can be preference here, or based on your input method, whether you want to go for the drop down ground contact superjump or the jump up and ghost interact jump, wherever you feel you can hit the timing more consistently. And two more jump details. I cannot seem to get hyper jumps off zip rails. On Ziplines, a hyper jump is another interact and jump input after a super jump, which gives you an additional height boost. On zip rails, that height boost does not seem to exist. A simple super jump gives me consistently more height. Or it does exist and I'm just too bad to perform it, which would be weird since I can consistently pull them off on normal ziplines. And the second jump detail, since zip rails accelerate you so much faster, using a crouched super jump is even more powerful on them than on zip lines, where it already gives you a bit more distance. This is the perfect example for a crouched super jump off a zip rail, where you just barely can make it through this opening. With a normal super jump, that will never work. Let's now hop onto character interactions. These are the same as with normal zip lines. I just wanted to remind you that they still work on zip rails. The first is that if you enter the zip rails while in a horizon lift, you will get a little height boop when you arrive at the end. Sometimes this will even result in getting thrown sideways when jumping off near the end. And the second interaction is with Valkyrie. She also gets moon boots on zip rails. Valkyrie technically gets reduced gravity while using her passive. So if you use her passive and then enter a zip rail, you will keep that reduced gravity. For some reason this seems way more consistent for me when I hold forward while entering the zip rail. Jumping off can then result in gliding off the zip rail for a way further distance than is normal. If you have additional zip rail movement you want the world to know, let me know in the comments or in the Apex rollouts thingies. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!